This is a red circle. It's also the flag of Japan. It's also a pie chart showing how much of Japan is Japan. It's 100% by the way. You know, your perspective is everything, and in a way, reality can be whatever you want it to be. Neuroscience is the study of the brain, by the brain. It's the study of the brain learning about itself. Claustrophobic people don't like the feeling of being trapped in a small place with no way out. But if you think about it, your brain is trapped in your skull, but you're completely fine with that. Your reality is literally all in your head. Your hands are really just your brain's personal servants to interact with what it perceives to be real. That begs the question, how can we know what exists outside of our subjective experiences if we can't ever step outside of our own head? It's simple. We can't. If the universe is a simulation, it might explain my insomnia. There just might not be any room left on the sleeping server. But even then, the only way you can know you've fallen asleep is by waking up. You have absolutely no idea what happens to you while you're unconscious at night. You sleep for 8 hours a day, meaning you're recharging your body for a third of your entire life. We're really poor batteries, and as with all battery-powered things, we degrade over time. Chargers are honestly just life support for our electronics. Eventually, everything comes to an end. You've probably made multiple decisions that have saved your life without you ever realizing it. But that's not exactly true. It's impossible to save a life. You can only delay a death. It can be scary. We all want to know our purpose in life. But maybe it's better we don't. A cow wouldn't want to know its purpose. Life is actually just generations of kids disciplining other kids hoping that the next group does just a little bit better. Humans aren't eternal. At least not yet. The odds of you dying at any moment are pretty slim, but it's never 0%. We all think humans are the dominant species on Earth, but what if plants were just farming us, giving us the necessary oxygen we need to survive, until about 100 years later when we ultimately die? Our bodies get thrown back into the soil, where plants can then consume us. This is how nature recycles. Death is the end of an old life, decomposition is the beginning of new life. Everyone in the world, even you, is producing carbon dioxide, which plants need to grow to produce oxygen, which we need to survive. So if anyone says you're useless, just know you're helping keep everyone else alive just by existing. It's all a cycle. There's order to all the chaos. Since plants and animals are mostly made of water, the evolution of all life is really the story of planets developing oceans, and then eventually, watching those oceans get up and start walking around. Another way to look at it is, since all living things are made up of the same stuff that stars are in roughly the same proportions, the evolution of intelligent life is basically stars watching their siblings fall apart, then their corpses getting back up and trying to learn about themselves. It sounds insane. Because it is. Everything can sound crazy if you word it the right way. Like for example, when you're reading, you're literally looking at a dead tree and hallucinating. Every book you've ever read is just a remix of the dictionary, and if you touch your phone in just the right places, someone comes and brings you a pizza. But that's a really small amount of actions taken. There exists a set of finite actions that, if you perform them in the correct order, would make you a millionaire in just a single day. You just don't know what they are. $1 million is a lot of money, but $1 billion? It's almost inconceivable. For example, if you had $1 for every year that the universe has existed, approximately 13.8 billion years, you wouldn't even make the top 50 on the Forbes list. Speaking of Forbes listers, it's interesting that the 2 richest people on our planet are actively building businesses to build rockets to get off this planet. But you know, the richest person on Earth is technically also the richest person in the universe, since our definition of rich is owning a lot of Earth money, and there's no way for extraterrestrial life to obtain it. Or is there? For all we know, humanity could have colonized other planets, other solar systems, and just left some of us on Earth as an experiment. Maybe one day, they'll return. Or maybe they won't. If these future humans were ever desperate for DNA from the past, there's a potentially viable source in all the bodies frozen on the trail near the top of Mount Everest. We've done pretty well, I think. I mean, we're still alive at least. But to be honest, we've gotten pretty lucky. You know how babies are like constantly being loud, crying, screaming, or whatever? How do humans survive in the wild with that constant alarm going off all day? It really only gets worse the more there are. The first parents to ever have identical twins must have been really confused. As kids, 99.9% of the times we cried was due to physical pain. As adults, though, 99.9% of the times people cry is due to emotional pain. Emotions can be hard to make sense of at times. Hospitals are a good example. In a hospital, you can find people experiencing the worst, the happiest, the first or the last days of their lives. There's plenty of tears shed, in both the best and worst ways possible. But whether you're welcoming a new life or saying goodbye to an old one, some things never change. The number of people older than you never increases. Your right elbow is and will forever remain untouched by your right hand, and the English language will forever be confusing. Have you ever realized that the words short, shorter, and shortest are actually just the long, longer, and longest versions of the word short? Bread goes into the toaster as a slice, but comes out as a piece. English makes me want to light my house on fire. But wait, nothing is ever on fire. It's fire that is on things. But don't worry, you can put the fire out by putting the right things on fire. Got it? Good. Wait, now it's too dark in here. Now that I think about it, dark is written with a K instead of a C, probably because we can't see in the dark. We aren't afraid of being alone in the dark. We're afraid of the exact opposite, actually. Even when you think you're alone, you're not. People cover the webcams on their computer because they're paranoid someone might be watching them. But yet, no one ever covers their cell phone cameras. You're connected to everything, to everyone. If you live in the United States, the driveway to your house is in one way or another connected to every other driveway in the country. And I guess in the same way, you could also say that your toilet is somehow connected to everyone else's toilet through the sewer system, which is kinda cute. Everyone needs a toilet buddy. Your parents always told you, don't talk to strangers, but the only way to make friends is to literally talk to strangers. Honestly, a lot of your social life was entirely predetermined by where your teachers assigned you to sit in class. We even grow up being told not to take candy from strangers, right? So why in any world does Halloween exist? To do just the thing we've been saying not to do? I understand though, you need to be careful with who you interact with. For all you know, you could be knocking at a serial killer's doorstep. If a serial killer is chasing you, you're both literally running for your life. I hope you're quick, but don't run too fast. You might start sweating. If you're wearing a sweater and you start sweating, doesn't that make you the sweater? Okay, we're back on English. Never mind. I would tell you to go inside and cool off, but using solar panels to power your AC is like using the sun's power against itself, and I don't think picking a fight with the sun is the best idea. Given the vastness of space and the massive amount of stars in the universe, if you randomly drew some stars on a page, your drawing is probably a very accurate representation of some particular cluster of stars in the sky. I guess you're just a natural-born artist, a modern-day Picasso. Our perception of time is really warped sometimes. Picasso was alive when the Titanic sank, but at the same time, he was also alive to witness the first moon landing on television. We see these things, these people, as having existed in different times, but in reality, it was a lot more recent than you actually think. But this reminds me, the light of the moon is just a reflection of the sun, right? So, how come vampires don't burn at night? Something is off here. The world is constantly moving. I myself have never been to India, China, or Bangladesh, but about 70 to 80% of all my clothes have. Belts, though, are probably some of the dirtiest items of clothing. People always touch them after they've used the bathroom. But think about it. When was the last time you washed a belt? Yeah. Doing laundry sucks, but I had an idea while doing mine today. If you just put a bunch of brains in a washing machine, is that considered brainwashing? And since we're on the topic of being brainwashed, someone, somewhere in the world, has probably dreamed about being in a relationship with you before. And in my case, I just feel really bad for them. That was probably a nightmare. But hey, every time you meet someone in real life, your dreams pretty much unlock a new character, so you can live the rest of your life out with them to the fullest extent. Until that alarm goes off. Yes, 5 a.m., the hour where you're either up really late or really early. Might as well get up and get ready for the day. Or brush your teeth and get ready for bed. Whatever you're doing at 5 a.m. is none of my business. I can only assume the worst. Remember earlier when I said that someone, somewhere in the world, could be looking at you through your webcam or your phone's camera? I can only imagine what they might be seeing. Personal data is everything. To you, it might not seem that big of a deal, but to your internet service provider, they'll take it, sell that information to other companies without consideration, and leave you vulnerable. But with Atlas VPN, you can take control of your internet presence and keep yourself anonymous. Atlas VPN provides you access to a virtual private network. In simple terms, it masks your identity while online. You could be an average person from New York, but with the use of Atlas VPN, your digital footprint will portray you as an Australian, or a Canadian, or really anything you want to be. This can be useful for many reasons. For example, Netflix runs you about $14 a month, but little do you know that you're actually not even able to access the majority of shows on it. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+. You're paying for subscriptions to these services, and yet they're hiding things from you simply because of your location. With a click of a button on Atlas VPN, you can remove these walls that have been put up, and can give you access to everything you've been missing out on. Whether you're on a Windows PC, a Mac, an Android phone, or an iPhone, Atlas VPN is available for you to use. Currently, Atlas VPN is running a massive discount on their 3-year deal for only $1.39 a month. For comparison, that's about the third of the price of a coffee from Starbucks. It's really cheap, and you can try out Atlas VPN by clicking the link at the top of the description. If you find that you don't like it, or it isn't useful for you, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. In 2021, you'd be a fool to not be using a VPN, so it's definitely worth checking out. You'll be protecting yourself and supporting my channel at the same time.